Good morning and good afternoon, boys and girls. Today's going to be the first episode, and I had my first interview today. It was actually with a family friend. His name's Kevin Karcesky. He's been in the trucking industry for over 30 years now. He's traveled almost 3 million miles estimated, so he's got a lot of skin in the game, and he has a lot of interesting things that he went over in our discussion this morning. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the conversation that I had with him. I would seriously listen if you're getting ready to get into the trucking industry, because he goes over a lot of things that you wouldn't expect, and he has some good suggestions for people that are getting ready to be involved in the industry and getting ready to start. So if you're getting ready to be into trucking, you're getting ready to make your first trip, he's going to go over a few things, and I think it's going to be very entertaining for you, and also pay attention, and he's going to go over some things that you can expect. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
So I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. The first question I was going to ask you, and I feel like this is going to be one of those questions that a lot of people that are going to be watching this video would be interested in. And we're going to kind of set the scenario as if you were, 21 years old, or even if you were just giving advice to somebody who's 21 that were just getting ready to start in the business, and just wanted to see what you would have to say to somebody that was considering getting into it, because I know that this type of an industry, you're sacrificing a lot of time, and the pay is definitely there, but there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make, and I feel like it's an industry that somebody really needs to know what they're getting into before they just pull the trigger on it. What do you have to say about that?
I'll say basically it's a job, but it's also a different way of life. It's pretty much a job, but it is definitely a different way of life. So I guess if I was going to tell somebody, I'd say, well, you're going to have a lot of alone time that you spend by yourself. You're not going to be able to get home every time that you want to get home also. So you're going to be sacrificing a lot of home time. If you have a family and a wife or whatever, it can be pretty stressful on that account, but other things that are good about it, I mean, you get to go out, see a lot of places, do a lot of different things. That you'll be able to see the country, and even though it's from a windshield, you still get to travel, see a lot of things. So, basically, if you're a single person, that would be a great deal. If you were married, I mean, that'd be something to consider. I mean, everybody is different, so each to their own, but that'd be just a couple of things there.
Right. And so what you're saying is just the time away from the house is what really would make it difficult for somebody with a new relationship or a marriage, or even perhaps a family with children or something. That would be kind of a difficult situation to be gone. So that makes sense, and that definitely sounds like something that somebody would need to consider before they got into the industry.
Right.
So I have another question for you, and this is something that is – it's one of those things that you would have to face, and anybody would have to face in doing this type of business, because it is dangerous. I mean, you're driving, millions of miles over the course of your career, and there's lots of dangers that are involved in that. And I mean, you see accidents happening on the news all the time, and different things on TV, and it just, I can imagine that there would be some instances where some of those accidents could be avoided, and maybe perhaps there's some pointers you could give on different ways to be safe when you're out there, different speeds you need to be traveling at. Would you say that going under the speed limit for the most part, and I mean, what kind of suggestions would you have for somebody to be safe out on the road because of how many miles you guys drive?
Yeah, basically, I would say 65 to 70 mile an hour in the truck is plenty fast enough. It gives you ample time to get to your destination to do what you need to do. Another key thing traveling like that is following distance. You want to give everybody a decent amount of following distance. You don't want to be following somebody too close or whatever. If something was to happen, to give you enough reaction time to where you could respond to the situation. I see that a lot now. A lot of people are following too close. A good rule of thumb is don't run in a pack. Separate yourself from the pack. Don't run in a pack. And a lot of people get frustrated with the cars or whatever, but they're going to do what they're going to do. So don't try to retaliate or anything else. Just give them the distance, back off, and let them do what the hell they're going to do. Because if you don't, you're just going to get yourself into trouble. So I pretty much just stay to myself, or try to, out there, and always pay attention. Distracted driving is a terrible thing now. Everybody seems to be distracted with their phones or whatever, but it's only take a short period of time for something to happen. So your utmost attention is definitely needed at all times.
Right, right. Yeah, that's some good advice for sure. I mean, that's, you know, it's funny because sometimes the principles are very simple on how to drive safe, you know, but just being reminded of them, and, you know, having somebody remind you, especially somebody like yourself who's driven for so long, you know, hearing it from somebody is definitely a friendly reminder, even though some of the concepts are pretty simple, you know, like keeping a following distance and, you know, going below the speed limit and things like that, but we tend to forget it. And then that was a good point that you made about the distracted driving. You know, I mean, it just seems like everybody's on their phone or grabbing something from the passenger seat, and it's just, it's definitely not a good thing. So, I know you've done a little bit of everything as far as long distance to local runs and different things like that. What would you say, because I know that you've done a little bit of everything, and I've heard of some people who just do local trucking, and some people who just do the long distance, and then people that kind of do a little bit of both. Which one would you say that you prefer? I mean, do you have like an input on that as far as, you know, which you prefer, the long distance versus the close?
Yeah, a lot of people. I've done them both. The close, I'm not really into the local stuff myself. To me, it seems that's more demanding to me. It seems like you put longer hours in doing the local stuff or whatever. I like to stretch it out, get a load on, it's going some distance, you know. Get a lot more driving involved in that deal. But it's a personal thing. It depends. I would say that, you know, if you had a local job or something, that would be more family oriented. You can spend more time with your family. But being gone over the road, I'm gone sometimes by choice, 3 weeks to a month sometimes.
Wow.
But I would say basically that's a personal decision. I prefer long distance driving myself.
Wow. So then I'm guessing the money's a little bit better on the long distance.
Yeah, there's times where you know, where I work, there's times where you can get home or head that way with a lesser load. But I always go for the money. Go for the bucks. If they got a good paying load, you know, that's going to I'll make a little bit of money over the weekend or drive over the weekend or whatever, then I'll do that.
Gotcha. So let's just pretend that you're going on a trip from here to Maryland or just one. I know you drive literally all over the country. I mean, we've had conversations in the past, and one of the most amazing things is all of the different places that you see. And you, I always joke with Sabrina, you know, that you almost have like a database of information just from places all over the country that you've been to. But let's just say that you're making one of your long runs and you're planning on being gone for sometimes a month at a time. I mean, what are you having to pack for a trip like that? I mean, obviously, you know, you need to have several days of clothes. I mean, is there places you can go and wash your clothes, or do you have to have, like, you know, enough saved up for the whole month, or what would you recommend for somebody that hasn't been on a trip that long and they're getting ready to do it for the first time?
Well, there's some your truck stops like the TAs where they have little laundromats in them, little laundering facilities. I personally don't care for that, so what I do is I carry enough clothes for a month, and then I bring them home and then wash them myself, whatever. But I always pack because everywhere you go, it's different. It's cold somewhere, so you got to have your warm clothing. So just keep in mind, you're not going to be in the same place. It's not going to be warm every time. It might be cold or whatever. So just pack enough stuff for the elements, different elements in the country.
Gotcha. So, for example, if you know you were heading up north, obviously this time of year it's significantly colder up there, and you have ice and snow and all different types of things to worry about. You also, I'm guessing, you must have to keep track of the weather. Do you take a look at it before you go, or do you kind of do it along the way, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, especially with the technology nowadays, you can find out what's going on, but I always check out the weather. I find out what it's going to be like, try to do a 10-day thing, see what you're in for, Sometimes, say now I'm at home and I'm getting ready I loaded for Detroit. So I did a 10-day on Detroit to see what the weather was going to be like. Is it going to be snowy? Is it going to be icy? Do I need to leave earlier to give myself more time to make sure I get there on time? And different things like that. So, and now with electronic logging, you're basically down to 11 hours driving. So you might want to utilize every hour you got going on. So check out the weather and see what's happening.
Gotcha. So that's another good point too. So 11 hours, that's kind of the longest that you're allowed to drive now. Because I know, I remember you mentioning in a conversation we've had in the past that there was a recent change, or maybe I don't know how recent it was, but it used to be that you could drive for much longer, but now I guess there's a regulation or something where you're maxed out at 11 hours. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, well, it's basically been the same amount of hours, but the thing now is they monitor you with electronic logs, so you can't fudge or you can't cheat anymore. Basically, is what that is.
Gotcha.
Before, with the paper logs, you might be able to drive. You could drive all day and then do a little fudging here, squeeze a couple more hours out or what have you. But now with the ELDs, you're pretty much taken care of on that aspect. You have a 14-hour day. Say you start your day at 7 in the morning. By 9 o'clock, everything that you want to accomplish that day has to be done, and then you got to do a 10-hour break. So in that 14-hour time period, you can drive 11 hours. And that's it, 11 hours.
Wow. Okay, so I guess that answers that question then. It's probably, I don't know about you, but personally, I can't drive for much longer than that anyways. I just start to get tired. And it depends too on the amount of sleep you had the night before. Sometimes like on that trip that we took to Indiana a couple of days ago, or about a week ago, just not getting a full night of rest the night before, and then trying to make that long trip, it just makes it real rough. And then another thing I've noticed too is would you say that driving at night is a little bit more exhausting than driving during the day, or does it make a difference? Or
I used to do I used to get up real early in the morning, like 2 and 3 in the morning to get started, but that's a personal preference too. I like to get up early in the morning when there's less traffic out there, get things going on, get a lot accomplished before the sun even comes up. But that's each to their own. And sometimes loading and unloading mandates what time you're going to be, working. If you have an appointment to pick up somewhere, so that pretty much regulates your driving, what your driving schedule is going to look like. With your appointment times, a lot of times you have appointments at your receiver or your shipper, so that mandates a lot of your schedule right there.
That makes sense, because they're expecting the products to be delivered at a certain time, so you have to kind of set your schedule up around that, is what you're saying.
Right, yeah. If you're scheduled to go pick up a load, so by the time you get the load, you're starting your day, then you're going to have so many hours to reach your destination. So that pretty much dictates what you're going to be doing.
Gotcha.
And the hours you'll be driving, in other words.
Okay, that makes sense. So this question's probably going to sound a little bit silly, but I obviously, I know very, very little about this industry. But as far as loading goes, let's just say that you're loading some steel pipe or something like that. I remember you were showing pictures to me the other day of some steel pipe that was from Russia. So who comes and actually loads it onto the trailer itself? Do they have like a crane or something that does that, or how does all that work?
Well, living around Houston, I haul a lot of steel pipe out of here, and usually you go down to the docks or the piers, the ports, And they used to use very, very big tow motors, or forklifts, you want to call them. So that's basically what they use to load the pipe.
Okay, and then so they just load it up, and then you're good to go once it's done.
Yeah, they load it up, secure it, and then good to go.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, as far as the questions I have for you, that's pretty much it. I mean, was there anything that you would tell somebody, anything that you want to throw in at the end, just to kind of say, hey, this is what you're expecting, if you're getting ready to get into this? Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, the only thing I can say, it's a pretty demanding job. There's a lot of responsibility involved. You're responsible for, your equipment, and inspect your equipment on a daily basis. You can be subject to inspection at any time, anywhere. Any state you're in, whatever, you could be inspected in the scale house, or the DOT can pull you over and inspect your truck and make sure you're running legally on your logs and the whole 9 yards. So it's a pretty demanding job. Somebody's always watching you, whether it's your company or the law or whoever. Somebody's always keeping an eye on you. So, the general rule there is they're just trying to keep everybody safe, I guess. So it's not a bad idea.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like good advice for sure. Because the last thing you want is to get a ticket or anything like that to happen. And of course, with following all those safety rules, I mean, they're there for a reason, and I'm sure it's good that they're being enforced, and that's all I really have to say to that. But
Right.
Awesome, Kevin. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you again, and thanks for being on the show.
All right, no problem.
Thank you, Kevin.
You bet. Welcome.
All right, guys, thank you for watching the video. I appreciate you very, very much. I'm going to be making some more videos like this in the future, and I want to make a lot of them. So, I mean, if there's anything that you can advise me to do, maybe some suggestions on how the video would be more interesting, I'd be open to them. Just leave me a comment down below. If you want to see another video like this, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. I think I said all that right. But anyways, man, just I appreciate you guys. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have this opportunity. And that's it, really. I'll see you on the next video. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.